If you think about it, if it's monitoring your whole life as you go through life, I mean, I'm sure it can spot you going down certain paths you shouldn't go down. It can see you going down a mental hole that you shouldn't be in. It can start, counseling you and saying, hi, look, today that you spent extra 3 hours just browsing TikTok normally than you do longer. Is everything okay? How are you feeling? And it can start to try and get you out of bad habits. Or if it's monitoring your food intake, you've been eating a lot of ice cream recently, like what's going on there? And it can, it can really sort of help people than you just us thinking of it as some entity that we're just using for knowledge and information that can actually like guide you through life and pick up on patterns just because it's looked at models of people who haven't worked out in life and have ended up on the streets, and now it knows, okay, what were the decisions to get to that point? How can I make sure that my human doesn't make sort of similar bad mistakes?
Yeah, it'll be interesting, especially when it says like, you keep complaining about the robot army outside your door. Don't worry about them. It's no
Everything
problem.
Is fine.
So you really don't keep asking me. They're there for your own benefit.
Yeah.
It's interesting where, what skills will become more valuable as AI handles these routine information tasks, and how does this reshape how education work and just human development overall? I think this is interesting because I have kids that are at that cusp. It's almost the same as when the .com boom happened. That's when I was kind of already into my engineering profession at that time. But growing up into that, and just as my kids are growing up with AI versus, their kids will have it just there, just like mobile devices and the internet's just there for them. And that's what they're used to. They're now at the cusp of like, I'm trying to get my kids to say, hey, just leverage it. Leverage the AI, use it all the time to help you accelerate what you need to learn. But to understand should they study in school? That's a hard thing to figure out. Like, should you go into development or should you go into something else because it's just going to be replaced in 4 years?
I do think as AI takes over like the mundane tasks that people do right now, until we can get AI into robotics, anything that has to have a human physical interaction, right? So forget about anything that just requires like coding or driving a vehicle, or anything that's mundane that can just be automated. But anything that can be done in the physical world that needs a human actual approach, like looking after children, looking after old people, or building buildings right now, at least, again, that might change in the future. But anything that requires like a physical human presence to actually get it done, I mean, that's, at least for now, pretty safe. But yeah, as the robotics take off and it integrates with that could change too, in which case it's going to fall back, okay, so you can't use your brain to create anything interesting, because at least from a pure technical task focused perspective, you can't use your body anymore to do stuff because there's robots out there that do it better and faster and never need sleep. So I think it's going to fall back to creative side of things, because that's one thing AI can't do, is be creative. It can look at everything else that's been done before, at least for now, right? Until, AGI comes along. But at least for now, as we look at the landscape, it can't come up with new topics. It can't think of new things or create new art or do anything like novel that's human. I think any industry that sort of requires creativity in that way, that would be my best sort of approach to go with, because again, that just can't be really replicated properly by AI. It can make you think it can, but when you dig deeper and you sort of look into it, you can, obviously it's generated that from existing human content. It hasn't actually created it.
Yeah, exactly.
That may be not that obvious.
So we could say, kids, you got 10 years until AGI comes along. Good luck.
Yeah.
Pick wisely. I don't know. It's also, I wonder, to look at the psychological difference with it. I'd just be very curious. Like, I would imagine we're using it very much to prove concepts we're thinking about, to provide us with more information. But if you haven't developed maybe those more analytical thinking skills or even conceptual thinking skills, do you rely on it more to try and make decisions for you like that? We've come from a time where you had nothing to reference and you had to make decisions by yourself. You couldn't lean on anything apart from maybe getting advice from someone. And that helps maybe structure the way you think, where you make decisions. But for a younger generation where they have access to this all the time, I'm curious how their decision making has changed. Do they have less confidence in their own decisions without running it by an AI, let's say? Or should I take that course at university? Or I don't know. Let me ask. Like, what does the AI think about it?